return to Oregon's northern shoreline along the Columbia River to continue our journey along the Union Pacific's Portland Subdivision. Part 1 took us from milepost 0 in the city of Portland, Oregon to the sighting at Wyeth deep in the Columbia River Gorge. Getting right into it, we pick up a few miles east of Wyeth at a feature known as Lindsay Lake, one of several man-made lakes made as a result of the line's many realignment projects over the years. Much of the original alignment through the gorge has been built over by the construction of Interstate 84, and other sections have been altered to reduce curvature and tunnels on the route. This has resulted in the construction of multiple dikes that vary in size along the Columbia River, trapping the river into small lakes. Union Pacific's 5373 enters the scene, leading Canadian Pacific and BNSF Power on the long dike as it, along with Wind Mountain behind, are reflected in the still waters. This empty grain train is on its way back to Canada via the Spokane International Route, with large blocks of newly built National Steel Corporation hoppers in the consist. Also of note are the spots of yellow and the long blocks of gray hoppers from the Dakota, Minnesota, and Eastern Railroad. East of the Interstate Park is the rock feature of Mitchell Point. Here, Interstate 84 and the railroad get intimate as they vie for the limited space between water and rock. UP 7768 leads a long manifest west as it clears the squeeze. Note Canadian National Unit 3225 with the company's 100-year anniversary logo. We take a quick stop at Hood River, which has a long railroad history and is of course the home of the Mount Hood Railroad. We cover in depth the town of Hood River and the Mount Hood Railroad in a dedicated film for your viewing pleasure. For now, Union Pacific 7764 leads a loaded train of grain from the American heartland for export in Portland, Oregon. At Moser, we are perched above the line as we wait for the next eastbound. Across the water, we catch a hot BNSF intermodal race east on the Washington State side of the Columbia River. Soon we get action on our side with the arrival of a trash train bound for Arlington, Oregon. Rowena, we are afforded a grand view high above the line looking east. The cliff-lined gorge has been left behind, along with the dense stands of spruce and fir. Here we see the effects of the rain shadow as the vegetation opens up and the green gives way to a golden brown. Across the river is the small town of Lisle, where once again the BNSF provides some action for us in the form of this eastbound military train. Another trash train then appears below us as it slowly winds its way around the headland, possibly due to a temporary slow order. Around the river bend, the line nears the city of the Dalles. We stand above control point SO82, where we see double track for the first time since leaving Portland. In the distance, we spot the BNSF Fallbridge Subdivision Mainline, and to the right, a sizable structure, part of the Google data storage facility, based in the Dalles. UP 5921 appears around the corner as it navigates a rock cutting on the head of a loaded trash train. Watch as the train takes the high-speed switch at speed. Just west of the town center, the UP Main passes under Interstate 84 as it enters the Dalles. Union Pacific 7467 leads a Z train bound for Chicago as we enjoy a few trains through this location. Not long after the Z, we see UP 7768 again earlier in its run as it pulls through the Dalles. Here we are afforded a better view of that CN Unit 3225 in its fresh paint. UP 2756 leads a good variety of mixed traffic on its way east. The next westbound displays the unmistakable face of an SD70M leading. UP 3822 along with sister 4254 power their charge west through the Dalles along with a freshly repainted ES44 number 5502. SD70s on the point is a nice surprise. However, we spot another as the rear of the train comes into view with new commuter cars bound for the Alameda Corridor Express system in California. On the other side of town, we get a different view of the main line at Madison Street. The Sunshine Mill towers above the rails and, interestingly, is the only designated skyscraper in the Columbia River Gorge. The mill has stood for 130 years and is now home to the Quenet and Copa Divino wineries. The Sunshine Mill provides a nice backdrop whilst UP 8181 passes by as the crew prepares to wait for a couple of westbounds. With the manifest all stop, the first westbound appears with UP 8357 rounding the curve with a Brooklyn-bound Z-train. Behind the Z, solo leader UP 7661 follows in hot pursuit. On the other side of the Sunshine Mill is the Union Pacific's depot and small yard used mainly for maintenance of way equipment. We spot the Dalles turn heading towards us with a small string of empty center-beam flat cars it picked up from the tracks left of the dual main. Today the crew are heading to Hood River to interchange cars with the Mount Hood Railroad, but first a quick pit stop at the depot is required. A hot day like today calls for some extra ice with the cab's cooler. All on board, the turn wastes no time in getting out of town. Later in the day, the Dalles turn arrives back in town with loads from the Hood River lumber mill. Running down Main 1, they will run around their cars before their next task. In the meantime, a track inspector rolls by on Main 2 as he makes his way west past the depot. Now on the other end of their cars, the turn crew pulls up to service the Ameritise West creosoting plant that provides treated railroad ties and trestle timbers to the Union Pacific and other railroads alike in the Northwest. As they shove into the plant, they will clear up as the dispatcher requires the main for a couple of approaching eastbounds. Rolling past the Sunshine Mill, Union Pacific 8323 appears with a train of international containers bound for the Midwest. As the rear DPUs pass by the turn crew, they continue to wait patiently for the next eastbound. In short order, the headlights of an empty grainer emerge with UP's 8899 leading. Note the Ferramix unit second out. With traffic clear, the Dalles turn receives authority back onto the main to finish their work. release cars from the plant, the Dalles turn will shove these into the small yard behind them for picking up before spotting the two gondolas in the adjacent track. With their switching complete, the crew will shuffle their way across the two main lines and tie their motor down for the day. Before continuing east, we catch one less westbound as UP's 8624 leads a container train bound for Tacoma. East of the Dalles, the change in the landscape becomes even more pronounced as mountains give way to barren plateaus. Our next stop is the Deschutes River State Park, where the Deschutes River meets the Columbia River. This location is notable as here the BNSF's Oregon trunk line descends into the Columbia River Gorge, having followed the Deschutes River from Central Oregon. Just west of here, the line passes over the UP's main and crosses the Columbia River to join the Fallbridge sub at the small railroad town of Wishram, Washington. Passing between Highway 206 and Interstate 84, a manifest heads east with UP's 1982 on the point. With the opening of the gorge, we're able to view trains in their entirety as they pass through these long, sweeping curves. frigid winter's day, we view a westbound with UP's 65-64 in charge, crossing over the Deschutes River and rounding the curve. A short distance away is the location of Biggs. A lone grain elevator now stands dormant next to the main, with grain traffic having been moved to the newer silos across Interstate 84 that are serviced by river-going barges. Grain is still hauled in big quantities on the UP, as proven by UP's 5336 as it rolls through Biggs with loads of Canadian grain bound for Portland. Though no longer running at this time, unit oil trains were once a common sight on the Portland sub, and may return once more, but only time will tell. For now, here's an example, led by UP 7805, taking empty oil cans back to the Alberta oil fields. Biggs sees the main line return to single-track running, with the next sighting at Goff. Standing at the east end of Goff, we see UP's 5921 through the telegraph poles and slide wires, having just arrived for a meet with the westbound. As the crew waits, a westbound BNSF manifest passes by across the state border in Washington. On the eastern approach to the Gulf, we see the John Day River bridges that carry the UP and Interstate 84 over the John Day River as it flows into the Columbia. Headlights announce the incoming westbound, a Hinkle to Roseville, California manifest with UP 5998 in charge. With the westbound clear, 5921's engineer takes advantage of a favorable signal and engages the nearly 18,000 horsepower at his disposal for the crew's remaining 25 miles of their run to Arlington, our next and final stop on this trip. Arlington, Oregon is a small town of 600 people that lies at the far eastern end of the Columbia River Gorge. Beyond here, the barren hills begin to open up to an agricultural landscape. Arlington itself started life as a staging point for the shipping of livestock by river and rail, being incorporated in 1885. The town site we see today is not the original, but the result of the construction of the John Day Dam in 1963, requiring the town to be moved to its current location. The UP's Mainline was also moved as a result of this. Today, Arlington no longer sees livestock, but rather has a port that processes grain shipments by barge, and trash trains bound for the waste management refuge site south of the town. The trash train we saw at Goff has now arrived in Arlington. Here they will be lined into the siding by the dispatcher, where they will hand the train over to a crew from Waco's Palouse River and Cooley City Railroad. The PCC crew will then take the train down the remains of what was the Union Pacific's Condon Branch and to the unloading ramp for the waste management facility. Having lined his engineer in, the conductor hops in the crew van as the engineer pulls the train clear of the main. With the main line clear, we catch one last eastbound as UP's 5723 highballs past Arlington with an empty unit grain train. Now we could finish this film here, however we have some more footage that we thought you would like to see. So let us take a quick look at what remains of the Condon Branch and follow the PCC crew as they take the trash train that just arrived up to the waste site. Having swapped control to the rear locomotive, the new crew departs the siding and heads onto the branch with 8094 now leading. As they do, they will pass under Interstate 84 and through the town of Arlington. 4.5 miles out of town, the line climbs through a canyon paralleling the John Day Highway as it gains elevation from the Columbia River Gorge. Our view demonstrates this as 8094 has no trouble tackling the grade. Atop the hill, the line arrives at Shuttler by milepost 7.3, where a small siding has seen new life in recent years as the transfer location for windmill components that are brought in by rail. A siding and crossover would be added along with a hard stand for the purpose of staging the windmill components. Around Arlington, there are 7 wind farms operated by Caithness Energy and Avangrid Renewables, with 2 more having been proposed to take advantage of this windy terrain. On the other side of Shuttler, the PCC crew nears the waste site as it coasts over the level ground next to a recently added siding that spans the gap between Shuttler and the transload facility. Waste Management's Columbia Ridge landfill operation is a 700-acre landfill opened in 1990 and is projected to still have some 120 years of life left in it. Rail brings in waste mainly from Seattle with trains arriving daily. The PCC crew brings the trains up from Arlington to the facility here, as well as spotting the ramp with inbound cars to be unloaded. They will then take empty cars to be assembled into outbound trains to be taken back to the Union Pacific. To this end, the crew also has use of a smartly painted ex-Union Pacific SD40-2 with a snoot nose. Leased from GATX and rebuilt into an SD38-2, number 3306 has been painted for waste management and serves as the facility switcher. Beyond this point, the shadow of the Condon Branch continues south, but this is a story for another time. We will finish this film back in Arlington, with the westbound intermodal bound for Tacoma. Trains such as these and other unit trains account for most of the traffic on the Portland sub, bearing containers and bulk commodities to and from the ports of Portland and Tacoma into the heart of America. This traffic and the grand scenery it passes through provides an experience like no other, of which we have only caught a small portion of in this film. We hope that you have enjoyed the footage of Union Pacific's Portland Subdivision. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more upcoming content. From all of us at Sidetracked, thank you.